Good evening. Don't touch the dial. You know where you are. You're with SEIU Local 73 on its every Tuesday night talk show. This has been a political season. It still is. Guess who this is? Hey, do I get the big shots on the show or what? This is Alderman Joe Moore from the 49th Ward. As you know, SEIU is supporting a number of candidates, good candidates for working families in this upcoming election, and Mr. Joe Moore is one of those guys. What happened? You didn't get reelected. What happened?
Well, I haven't gotten reelected yet.
Yet. It'll happen.
I came up 51 votes short of avoiding a runoff. So
recall.
So we are recount.
Yeah, right.
So we're doing it again for the next 3 weeks. We've got a very aggressive campaign, getting our message out to working families in the 49th Ward.
Okay.
And have really enjoyed the battle. Very much enjoyed getting the word out about my support for the living wage.
Right.
My support for a full range of issues that are important to working families and important to the people in my ward.
Just about the whole labor movement in Chicago supports you, Mr. Joe Moore, right?
Yeah, I think I'm batting 1,000 on labor, which is good. I really...
As the architect of the big box living wage, something we fought very hard for and something we used as a way of determining who are our friends and who are our enemies in the city council.
Well, it's an issue that really does define who you are.
Right.
And every once in a great while in a legislative body like the city council, there is an issue that will, basically decide which side you're on, whether you're with working men and women, or in the case of living wage, whether you're with big business.
Right.
And the living wage ordinance that we voted on in the city council last summer, and again when the mayor vetoed it last fall, that was a time when those of us in the city council had to make a choice.
Right.
And the vast majority of us in the city council chose the side of working men and women. Unfortunately, the mayor was able to convince a couple of my colleagues to switch their votes and to go with big business, and the mayor was able to have his veto sustained. But we are going to be...
Didn't we shake things up, though?
We did indeed.
I think we really shook things up.
And we will be coming back to fight another day.
Okay. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for taking my call. I'm a senior.
Okay.
I have been a voter for many years, but young lady and sir, I have been for the last 25 years very ridiculously frustrated and upset with the electorate system, because we vote for the people that we think that they're going to do a good job, but they double cross us and they do things, and we elect them in office. Now, why can't we terminate them like you and I would be terminated if we went to work for a company? That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to monopolize the line. Thank you.
Okay, but let me just say something about this guy, Mr. Joe Moore, Alderman Joe Moore. 1991, you were elected.
That's right.
In there, and if you look at Joe's record, he's not somebody you want to lose in that city council. This is a fellow who has a consistent record of improving his ward as a means of improving the lives of working people in Chicago. If you go on to his website, and I'll show you, it's www.ward49.com, and you can call 773-973-4949 to volunteer in the last heavy days of the campaign. You'll see all the achievements for working people in that ward. The 49th Ward has working people still in it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Many thousands of them, and many thousands of people who would have been affected, if not directly, certainly indirectly, by the living wage. Because we have a lot of folks in my neighborhood who are working 2, even 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. And the ordinance that I was one of the lead sponsors on would have gone a long way to helping workers spend more time with their families rather than trying to earn enough to put food on the table. And it really was a tragic that we weren't able to override the mayor's veto. My opponent in this election.
Who is your? Well, you don't have to say his name. What's his basic shtick?
Well, he was opposed to the living wage ordinance, and it's remained consistently opposed to the living wage ordinance, and that really is a defining defining characteristic between our two candidacies, and that's why I really think he really is out of step with the 49th Ward, with the people of the 49th Ward. He inexplicably saw no connection between the right of people to earn a living wage and the issues that we deal with on a daily basis in the ward. Boy, if people earned a living wage, you'd see a drop in crime.
Yeah.
You'd see families, parents
staying
able
together.
to spend more time with their kids, and families staying together. And a lot of the problems that we face every day in our community would be a lot less severe if we had people with decent jobs and paying a decent wage.
Hi, you're on the air.
Yes. First, let me just offer my verbal support to Alderman Moore. I don't live in his ward, but
I wish you did.
Well, I definitely appreciate everything that you're doing, and we definitely need more people like you in the city council. The concern that I have is that from 2002 to 2004, there have been 10,149 cases of complaints lodged against the Chicago Police Department. Of those 10,000 complaints, only 19 resulted in some form of discipline. We have some police officers with as many as 15 complaints on their record, and the complaints range from excessive force to brutality to racial and sexual scenarios that were inappropriate. So my question to you is this, Alderman Moore, as someone that speaks for the people, would you be in favor of an independent police review board with full subpoena powers? We have a problem with the Chicago Police Department. It's all over the news. Every news station has another story where police have acted inappropriately or have engaged in brutality. We need help. The citizens of Chicago, we need help.
So your question is...
The answer is yes. I would support such a review board to ensure that, first of all, to give the citizens in this city confidence that there is accountability in the police department, and we want to make sure that the good police officers and vast majority of officers working for the police department follow the rules. They try to do their job in a very professional manner, and their reputations being besmirched by these officers who do these outrageous things. We just witnessed that on the videotape of the incident in that bar on cities, was the Northwest Side. We can't have that in our police department, and I think this independent board not only would help ensure that the cases of police brutality really are brought to light and the wrongdoers are prosecuted and lose their jobs, but also I think it would benefit the good, hardworking police officers who try to do their job and try to do it honorably, and whose reputations are being besmirched by the conduct of a few.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, I wanted to ask you, Alderman, what do you thought the chances for the big box living wage ordinance to pass with the new city council?
Well, so far it's looking pretty good. We've gotten a few new members of the city council enacted. A number of the aldermen who voted against the living wage ordinance are in runoff. One of them who voted for it is in a runoff, but I'm very confident I'll prevail. And I really look forward to some of the new blood that will be on the city council. And I think many of those folks on the city council, from what I understand, are going to be very supportive of a living wage ordinance. And I think there's a very, very good possibility that in a new administration that such an ordinance will pass the city council and will pass by a veto-proof majority. And
we'll be right there. SEIU and the rest of the union
Absolutely.
movement.
The labor movement has been key to getting this living wage passed.
Doing whatever we can to get that kind of justice into our system in Chicago. Let me ask you something. This may be a touchy question. Been there since 1991. A lot of Chicagoans, start looking at the city council by and large as a rubber stamp body.
Yeah.
And the mayor's in the spotlight now, and everybody surrounding him is like, getting into trouble. Do you think, what's the evolution there? When you first arrived in 1991, was it like that? Is it better now? Do we need to do more to loosen things up?
It's sort of taken on an evolutionary tact. When I came on in 1991, there was a fair amount of activism. In fact, early on, the mayor had to revise his budgets because of activism on the part of the city council. And then in the mid to late 90s, when economic times were good for the city, essentially, the mayor was able to devote a lot of attention to the neighborhoods, and that was a good thing. And in fact, that benefited my neighborhood tremendously. And the mayor was, I think, very fair to my neighborhood as well as other neighborhoods. But there was, in terms of citywide issues, there really was a lack of real debate. Now, the idea of a rubber stamp city council was a little bit simplistic, because there were instances.
It's a journalistic phrase.
And there were many instances where behind the scenes there was a very, the city council was able to get, those of us independents in the city council were able to get things through. For example, I think a paramount one was the first living wage ordinance that was passed by the city council back in the 1990s that required city contractors to pay their employees a living wage. That was something that was initially opposed by the mayor, but the mayor did come around and ultimately embraced it, and then 4 years later adopted a cost of living increase to that living wage.